Welcome to Aperitif, 30 minutes with a specialty cocktail, a delicious nibble, and an iOS app dev lesson. This week we're going to be making ceviche, drinking a tequila honey bee, and learning all about variables, constants, and data types in Swift. Thanks for joining me on Aperitif, 30 minutes with a specialty cocktail, a delicious nibble, and an iOS app dev lesson. My name is Karen Burns and I am the founder of Flying Start. Flying Start is an online platform that connects students with tech skills to busy business owners and startup founders that need tech services. During the age of coronavirus, there's not a whole lot of that going on right now. Schools are closed, a lot of businesses are closed. So I developed Aperitif as a way to connect food and drinks, which is something that I love, with app dev, something that I hope to teach the community. And I really want in the future for this to become a community event. What I mean by that is I would like to have students actually connecting with restaurant owners and finding ways to help them through technology. So this week we are learning about variables, constants, and data types in Swift. So there's a whole bunch of resources you will need. You're going to need to have a Macintosh computer for this, a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air works, or a desktop. You're going to need Xcode, which is an app on the Mac Store. You're also going to need to download App Development with Swift, which is on Apple Books. All of those things are free, of course, except for the MacBook. So you'll need to get those together. All of these resources that we're going to use today, including the recipes, will be on our website, getaflyingstart.com, Aperitif. So today what we're going to be doing is making ceviche. Ceviche is acid-cooked fish or shrimp or shellfish of any sort that's cooked with like lemon, like citrus, so the acid cooks it. And we were serving it here on tostadas, or you can serve it in a bowl too. And we're also having the Tequila Honey Bee, which is a really good drink. It's similar to a margarita, but it's different. Like we get, I have so many bottles of tequila that we never drink, and we just decided, hey, what else can we make besides margaritas? So I saw this recipe for a Tequila Honey Bee, which is really good. So I hope you enjoy it today while we're learning how to code. So let's get started with making our drink. You'll find all the resources for this episode at getaflyingstart.com, Aperitif. I'm always up for a good cocktail, and the Tequila Honey Bee is no exception. It starts with 1.5 ounces of tequila, a couple shakes of bitters, half a fresh lemon squeezed, honey syrup, which is honey and water melted together, and topped with soda and a lemon wedge. Delicious. You may need a couple of these, just saying. Are we ready for ceviche? So we've got all of our mise en place here. We've got our cucumbers, our peppers, tomatoes, all of those things, cilantro, lime. The important thing about ceviche is that you have to have a citrus. So lime would be the citrus that we're going to use. And you have to have a fish or a shellfish. So we're going to use shrimp for this. You can use any sort of fish you would like. The citrus juice will cook the fish inside the ceviche. Put cilantro. Man, my knife skills are mad. Make sure you take the seeds out of the cucumbers. Chop up the cilantro nice and small. I usually squeeze lime juice in there with a fork. That's how I get it out. Now I'm using shrimp, so I've par-cooked the shrimp. Now the citrus is supposed to cook the fish that you have in there. However, just to be safe, I always par-cook the shrimp. Finish with some olive oil, salt and pepper. Stir it up. And now we're going to put it on a tortilla chip. So there's a couple of different ways you can serve this. If you want to be really fancy, you can scoop it out individually and put them on tortillas and serve them kind of like as a passing hors d'oeuvre. So you could do that. Looks lovely. I've chopped up some avocado here on the side. You can put a little avocado on the top if you like. I like avocado. Or you can serve it kind of like in a bigger portion, like a dip. So what I've done here is I've scooped most of it into a smaller plate or a smaller bowl, put that on a plate, and then I've just lined the tortilla chips around the outside. That's the way, of course, I like to eat it because I like to totally dig in while I'm coding. So now I have my ceviche, I have my Tequila Honey Bee, I've got my app development book with Swift that I've downloaded from Apple Books, and I'm looking through the introduction and I'm looking through all of the different parts of the book. It's amazing. Right here, you can see it says download the materials. You'll need to download the materials. Also, you need to have Xcode on your computer. So Xcode is for Mac only. It's available on the Mac App Store. You can click this link right here. So you will need the project files. You will need a Mac, of course, and you will need this book. So you go up here to the table of contents, the 3 lines. Before you start this lesson, you really need to look through Introduction to Swift and Playgrounds and Getting Started with App Dev, the introductions. There's so much to learn in app development. Swift is an easy language, but there's a lot to learn. So you really have to start right and start at the very beginning. So as you notice, when you first get to constants here, all of these blue terms are clickable. You can click these. You can look them up in a glossary and a dictionary. There's also a language guide here at the very bottom under related resources that will help you out. So we're going to get started with constants. A constant is a name for a value that will not change, and it's represented in Swift language by the word let, L-E-T. So I've opened a playground in Xcode, and I type let, and you can see Xcode will autocomplete for you. So you need to name your constant. I'm going to name this my name, and then I need a value for my constant. So I've typed my name, and let's see. It won't let me just do it like that. I have to use quotes because this is a string, and I'll tell you a little bit more about strings later. String is text. So I'm going to type another constant called dog name. Let and dog name. Now I'm going to print them. I'm going to print my name. I'm going to print a string. So here I've got the quotes for my string, and I'm going to print love and the dog name. And right down here at the very bottom, I can actually play this so it shows up in my console to check and make sure it is correct. And it is. It shows Karin loves Marcus. Marcus is my dog. So let's see what happens when we try to change the constant. So let's put in my name, and we're going to change it to David. We'll change the dog's name to Sammy, and we'll see what happens when we compile this. Oh, wait, I've got to have a space here. Sorry about that. Let's compile it again. All right, so it says you cannot assign to value dog name. It is a let constant. So if we want to make it mutable, it has to be variable. Mutable means changeable. So let's put a comment here so we remember this. To type a comment in Xcode, you put 2 forward slashes, and then whatever you type won't show up. A constant, let, cannot be changed. A string, which is what we've got at the top, must be enclosed in quotation marks. Moving on to variables, a name for a value that may change. So let's take a look here, and let's go back to our playground. So let's move down a little bit. And the code for a variable is var. And as you can see, it still has name and a value, just like a let constant. So we're going to put a variable for age, or we're going to name our variable age, and we're going to put 21. And let's print it to the console and see what happens. Oh, there it goes, 21 years old. All right, so the cool thing about variable is, as you know, you can change it. So let's see if we want to change it. We're going to put age. Now let's change it to 33 and print it. Press this button. And there you go. After it compiles, it says 33. Super easy, right? So let's put a comment. A variable, var, can change. We've explored types a bit already. A type defines how data should look and function. The type that we explored is a string. And we talked earlier about how a string must be enclosed in quotation marks. The strings we used at the very top were Karin and Marcus. We declared those two with a constant, my name and dog name. And we also printed a string, just printed it directly to the console. We printed the word loves. So a type can be a string. We're putting another comment here. A type can be a string, an integer, or a double. So here are, as I said, our strings up here are text. So really another easy way to think about strings. Strings represent text, but they're anything that you put between the quotation marks. Whatever you put between the quotation marks will print out, will compile. All right, so let's think now about integers. So an integer, what is an integer? Well, an integer, what we're talking about here, is a number without a decimal. So it's kind of like just a whole number, right? So it would be 21. Our integer would be here. We changed the variable to 33, and that worked out fine for us, right? Let's compile it again just to check and see. Yep, it worked out fine. All right, so now what happens if someone's 33 and a half? So how would that work? We've declared the variable already as an integer. So the computer knows that the variable is an integer. The variable is 21, right? So let's say they're 33 and a half. So a double is what we want to do. A double is a number with a decimal point. So we've got 21 as our variable. Let's put our age as 33 and a half, and we will compile it and see what happens. So see, it says here you cannot assign value of type double to type integer. So something we have to change here. We either have to change the 33 and a half, or we have to go back and change the integer to a double. So let's change the integer to a double and see if it works out. So just by adding the decimal point and a 0, we've now made a double. Now what I'd like you to do is go back to your app development with Swift book and really read through this section thoroughly, constants, variables, and data types. Read through it very thoroughly. At the end, you'll have a quiz. I think the first quiz might have 7 questions. Once you get all of those right, you'll go to the very top of the quiz page, and it will tell you which playgrounds to complete. At the beginning, we downloaded all of those playgrounds. There's 10 exercises for this that you must complete. So go ahead and start the exercises. The really neat thing about the exercises in these playgrounds is that it starts with a regular exercise. So you can practice what you just learned. For example, the first exercise is called constants. You practice an exercise and then you do an app exercise. So it's actually showing you how what you've just learned can be applied to an app. At the very end of each chapter, you are going to make your own app. The first app that you're going to make at the end of chapter 1 is called Light, and it's a really cool app using everything you've learned in chapter 1. So go ahead and get started. Don't forget to email me if you have any questions, Karin@getaflyingstart.com. All of these resources are available at getaflyingstart.com app Aperitif. Thanks for joining Flying Start for App Aperitif. 30 minutes with a specialty cocktail, a delicious nibble, and an iOS app dev lesson. I'm Karin Burns. I'll see you next week.